Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this particular video this time has everything to do with consent of two individuals engaging in adult activities, and sometimes it can go a little awry, especially when alcohol is involved. And this one is in particular about USC. And of course, USC has been in the news over the last several years, one with the celebrities and the ACT, SAT scandal, where celebrities were forging their children's resume and SAT scores or ACT scores to get them into USC. That happened several years ago, and several parents, or a few parents, ended up getting indicted, getting charged, indicted, and found guilty. And some of these celebrity parents even spent some prison time. Also recently at USC, you had the protests with the Gaza Strip war, with the Israeli and Palestinian issue that's taking place in the Gaza Strip. That made national news, along with schools like Washington University in St. Louis, Harvard University, University of Pennsylvania, Columbia University, and several other institutions where there were student protests against the war. Well, this one here is about a USC student, male student, who got into some hot water and trouble for an alleged R case against a woman, a female student. But let's take a look at it and see what happens. Judge drops R case against male USC student, citing video evidence. In the early hours of April 1st, neither student at the University of Southern California knew what the other had to drink. An Uber was called, and the male student was seen on the video following the female student into her dorm, where they had sex. The woman later told the police she did not remember the encounter. And in May, prosecutors charged the male student, Armand Primji, 20 years old, with R. But a California judge dismissed the case last week after reviewing security video from the Banditos nightclub in Los Angeles and the woman's dorm. The videos show the woman leading Mr. Primji from the club, taking his photograph, following him into an Uber, and at her dorm, swiping an access card and allowing him inside. The judge said during a preliminary hearing last week that he believed that the sex was consensual and that the videos were a very strong indication the woman was the initiator, according to the reports. In an interview, Mr. Primji said, without evidence, there's no way to prove that consent did happen or didn't happen. It's just one person's word against another. In 2014, California became the first state to require university students to receive active consent before all sexual activity. The outcome of the case pits the state law against the university's policy. USC's rules state that a person who is intoxicated is not capable of giving valid affirmative consent. The student misconduct investigation involving Mr. Primji within the university's Title IX office remains active. If found responsible, Mr. Primji, a junior studying business administration, he could be expelled. The female student has not been identified, which is routine in cases involving claims of SA. Affirmative or active consent varies across states, but it typically requires a verbal or nonverbal yes from both parties. Under President Barack Obama, universities used Title IX, the 1972 law requiring universities to protect students from RNSA to investigate allegations involving their students. In 2014, Governor Andrew M. Cuomo of New York was quick to follow California, ordering the State University of New York to overhaul its essay policies and make affirmative consent mandatory on all 64 campuses. SUNY State University of New York obliged. But 3 years later, an appeals court reversed a decision by State University of New York, SUNY Potsdam, to expel a student from SA. The court claimed the university's investigation had been based on hearsay. In 2015, Indiana University, which defines consent as something that requires sobriety, found that a male student had essayed a female student who had been drinking. The case was investigated by the university's Title IX office, and the male student was expelled. But in 2016, prosecutors dismissed the case in criminal court, citing insufficient evidence. Many universities, from public state colleges to the Ivy Leagues, have come under fire for how they have dealt with essay investigations. The Chronicle of Higher Education has tracked the federal government's investigation of colleges' possible mishandling of essay reports. As of Saturday, there were 419 such investigations, of which 350 remain open. In early July, the Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, said she intended to take a hard look at whether the Obama administration's campus R policies, which jump-started the affirmative and active consent movement, deprived accused students of their rights. In an interview with the New York Times, the official appointed to lead the Office of Civil Rights, Ms. Candace E. Jackson, said that 90% of essay assaults accusations on campus fall into the category of were we both drunk, we broke up, or 6 months later I found myself under a Title IX investigation because she just decided that our last sleeping together was not quite right. Ms. Jackson later apologized, calling her remarks flippant. Critics of Ms. DeVos says that the Obama-era policies had a positive effect on women in college campuses. Brett Sokolow, the executive director of the Association of Title IX Administrators, says he's playing a long game. Title IX is 45 years old, he said. It's waxed and waned. It isn't going anywhere. We just have to figure out how to navigate it. In February, End Rape on Campus, a survivor advocacy organization, created the hashtag Dear Betsy, a reference to the education secretary, and urged the posting of messages on Twitter in support of essay survivors. In the past few weeks, Twitter users on all sides of the heated debate began using the hashtag. Dear Betsy survivors and advocates feel that they are entitled to more time than anyone else got while meeting with you, but they aren't. Another one said on Twitter, "Thank you, Secretary DeVos. The stories of railroad Title IX boys are shameful. Spotting assault does not require expelling innocent boys." Mr. Primji said on Saturday that he was not aware of the national debate or of Ms. DeVos' position on the issue, but added that it sounded like one he would support. The key issue here is evidence, he said. In most essay cases, there's not video evidence like there was in my case. Innocent men are put in prison for that, or are punished or kicked out of school. So, in this particular case, Mr. Primji, a USC junior student, and I saw a video on their interaction. He got accused of essay assault, and after video surveillance showed that there were several instances where the young lady seemed to be coherent and conscious and aware of what she was doing. They got into there was video footage of them at the nightclub where she was putting her arm around him and kissing him. She was more proactive towards him than he was. There was other evidence that they ordered an Uber together. And then there was thirdly evidence of her signing him into her dormitory for that evening. Just when we talk about there's too much surveillance, the big brother in the sky, I think that it is very advantageous to have this video coverage throughout our cities and our states and our country, and definitely at our universities. And this is one indication where it evidently helped Mr. Primji win his case against the terrible word R that was alleged that he had perpetrated against this young lady. So just when people think there are too many eyeballs looking at whatever you're doing, if you're not doing anything wrong, who cares who is looking at you, whether it's big government or whether it's an individual at a store or at a mall watching you? Who cares? If you're not doing anything wrong, what does it matter? The same way with DNA analysis or DNA science. Just when we thought that that was supposed to be a particular tool to find out who the perpetrators of crimes are and make it easier to get convictions, we also found out in a reverse circle that it actually got a lot of people out of jail for being wrongly convicted. So DNA science and video surveillance can be a very good measure if you are an innocent person being charged with something that you did not do. And this is clearly the case for Mr. Primji. This became a he say, she say, and my word versus her word. And this could have ruined his life forever. We are heavily in the Me Too movement, the Survivors Act. In the history of America, have women been at the lower part of the totem pole and have been abused in all kinds of ways and discriminated? Absolutely. But if we can have this new technology in this 21st century that can be evidentiary in finding out what is the real truth in a he say, she say scenario, this is a clear indication where video surveillance helped this gentleman out tremendously. So I am an advocate for video surveillance. It's for our protection. As I say again, if you're not doing anything wrong, who cares who's watching? Also with DNA scientific evidence and technology today, it has actually gotten tons of people out of jail, out of prison for crimes they did not commit. And it also has helped solve unsolved crimes that have gone back 20, 30, and 40 years ago and got that perpetrator off the streets that was walking around free who had committed heinous crimes in the past. So we need all this technological advances. We just need to make sure we have controls and measures for it, that it does not supersede our civil rights and liberties. I have two daughters. We know essay accusations and R accusations are very heinous and very terrible. There have been innumerable amounts of men as a result of the Me Too movement and the Survivors Act who have been alleged and incriminated in offenses from the past and allegations or hearsay of things that they may have done currently. Women's rights are just as important as anybody else's rights. The civility of our society and the humanity and the ethical and moral sustainability of our society should be at a premium. I do feel sorry for the young lady for this particular altercation that took place, but if Mr. Primji did not do any of these things that he was alleged to have done, then it is good that he was found now guilty. But we have to have some kind of symbiotic and even playing field where you see that schools and institutions have certain policies in regard to moral turpitude and how they should engage with each other. You can be found evidently innocent in the court of law and in criminal law, but you can still get expelled based on a rumor. There's even $100 million case with a Yale male student who had a very similar accusation against him, and in the criminal court he was found now guilty, but Yale still suspended him and expelled him from the university, and now he's suing them for $100 million. There are several professional. It's a tough time in today's world, especially if you're rich, famous, or powerful. You have to be very careful who you're going to engage with on any level, let alone a level of intimacy. We have to make sure that we vet and have some idea or ideology about who we're dealing with, because hearsay can get you in a lot of trouble. It can lead to character assassination and sometimes even prison or being expelled from your university, and it can change your entire life. Tell me what you think about Title IX. I do a lot of videos talking about we need to be conscious and aware of our city and our state laws along with our federal laws. This is something everyone that follows me should research about Title IX. We need to know how our Supreme Court is voting. We need to know how our state legislators are voting and our city legislators are voting, because all of these bills and legislative acts have everything to do with our freedoms as a U.S. citizen. So stay conscious and aware. We have an election year coming up. I know the whole Trump-Biden thing is at the forefront of everybody's consciousness, but you also need to be aware of your U.S. constitutional rights, how the Supreme Court is voting, the U.S. Supreme Court, how your state Supreme Court, how your governor, your mayor, your U.S. senators, your state senators are voting for the protection and the freedoms that you so do deserve and have earned as a positive and righteous and God-fearing U.S. citizen. Tell me what you think. We're trying to make America a better place. I'm definitely trying to do that on the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.